Good. Good evening. So here we are. This is the main event, why we are here, to do some honoring and to do some thanking. And so you can continue eating as long as you do it quietly. So this is the George Washington Carver Public Service Hall of Fame induction. Now, in terms of a brief history, we know that this is the 83rd PAWC, but it was in 1982 that it was recommended that there be established a outreach Hall of Fame ceremony, and that this annual ceremony would recognize individuals from the 1890 land-grant universities and Tuskegee Institute for efforts to improve the quality of life for rural people. The next year, it was stated that this award would be part of the annual PAWC program. This award is given, or would be given, in recognition of individuals whose work mirrors the philosophy of George Washington Carver that is reflected in this quote of his: "It has always been the one great ideal, to be the greatest good to the greatest number of my people." And then the first award was bestowed in 1984 to Dr. S.J. Parker from the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. Now, in 1993, a new award was added, that is we call it the Carver II Award, for those in service outside the 1890 system. That is the other land grants, USDA, the public sector, private sector, CBOs, and others. And the first award for the Carver II was presented to Jim Tatum of the USDA, then the Soil Conservation Service. And then, finally, in 2000, it was proposed that there be a third award called the Carver Public Service Lifetime Achievement Award, to be awarded every 5 years or so to those who heeded Dr. Carver's call. And the first Public Service Hall of Fame Lifetime Achievement Award for the 1890s was presented to Dr. Antam Baharani. And then the Carver Public Service Lifetime Achievement Award for outside the 1890 system was presented to Dr. John L. Williams, or Mr. John L. Williams, USDA retired. So before I go any further, I'd like to recognize any of those Carver awardees. Are you here tonight? So, I looked over the list. They had the list presented outside here. And these are some pretty big deals. I mean, really big deals. Matter of fact, I got a call this past week, and it sounded kind of funny, but they said they were from the White House, and that someone was trying to nominate themselves for this award. And I said, no, it doesn't work that way. I said, go to the Nobel Committee, it's easier. But seriously, we had some really good nominees this year. It's always difficult to make this kind of decision, but they came out with some wonderful choices. It's even more difficult to briefly describe them, and I need to cut that back because some of them, they get these nominations, it's 10 pages long with, I said, we can't do that. But we will announce or introduce our awardees. So this is a resolution for Dr. M. Ray McKinney for the 1890 Carver Award for those in service to the community. Whereas since 1979, Dr. M. Ray McKinney has been very active in extension and program development within the land-grant universities and the 1890 university systems. Dr. McKinney's academic specialty is animal sciences with a major concentration in reproductive physiology and a minor in nutrition. His research has resulted in 17 extension publications, refereed and non-refereed journals, and 65 abstracts, reports, and conference presentations. His extension and research focus centered on the effects of nutrition, environment, and management upon puberty, ovarian function, and reproductive efficiency in swine, small ruminants, and commercial rabbit production management, and its relevance to cooperative extension. Dr. McKinney has been the principal investigator or co-principal investigator of projects totaling more than $22.6 million in extramural funds. Whereas, as Associate Dean and Extension Administrator in the College of Agriculture and Environmental Science at North Carolina A&T State University for 13 years, Dr. McKinney has been very active as a resource generator and in leading program development. He's worked closely with many corporate executives and brought extramural corporate funding from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, the Z. Smith Reynolds Golden Leaf Foundation, Southern SARE, USDA NIFA, Southern Rural Development Center, and the Farm Service Agency of approximately $3.6 million to support the college at North Carolina A&T. Whereas the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, as led by Dr. McKinney, established itself as a participating partner in order to position North Carolina A&T to develop programs and initiatives to benefit persons in rural areas, particularly those persons and families who are low income, underserved, or marginalized, to receive equitable funding and input into decision-making in the development of the campus, specifically the Center for Environmental Farming Systems, Ways to Grow Small Farmers Academy, the CAES Pavilion, and Urban and Community Food Complex were all established to advance environmentally sustainable farming practices and make a positive impact on rural communities with a strong emphasis on supporting small-scale and socially disadvantaged farmers. And whereas at the national level, Dr. McKinney has served as a panelist and panel chair to evaluate the educational portfolio of programs in the food and agricultural sciences in terms of relevance, quality, and performance. And whereas Dr. McKinney has evaluated over 100+ grant proposals for the USDA Cooperative Research Education and Extension Service in Southern SARE between 1991 and 2017, whereas he has performed almost 40 local, regional, and national presentations covering educational programming, extension planning, training, evaluation, and discipline-specific conference presentations, both domestically and internationally, covering over 35 years, whereas he has performed over 40 major committee assignments, including, here's the word salad, AEA, SARE, ECOP, as chair, and other positions dealing with planning, policy, and program implementation, again for over 35 years. And whereas he has been recognized by 7 pages of certificates, recognitions, honors, and awards for leadership, honors, appreciation, scholarship, administration, and excellence. Therefore, be it resolved that, individually and collectively, the participants of the 83rd Annual Professional Agricultural Workers Conference congratulate and present to Dr. Emory McKinney the 2025 George Washington Carver Public Service Hall of Fame Award, and do hereby induct him into the Hall of Fame, given this 18th day of October 2025.
Well, good evening, everyone. I would like to begin by thanking Mother Tuskegee, Tuskegee University Selection Committee for this great honor that has been bestowed upon me tonight. Just to have your name mentioned in the same breath or the same sentence with George Washington Carver is amazing. A man who was selfless, who gave of himself, and who was previously stated, his one ideal was to be of the greatest good to the greatest number of his people, who gave of himself selflessly, as I said, and forewent profit for public good. So I feel that just being in that company is tremendous. I'm often given to saying a quote that if you see a turtle sitting upon a fence post, there's one thing we know. He did not get there by himself. And so I'm that turtle tonight, and I did not get here by myself. I stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before me. I've had a great family, wife, sons, sisters, mother, father, brother, who've all supported me along this journey. I've had great relationships and friendships. Dr. Alton Thompson, Mr. Willie A. Deese, Mr. Michael Spales, and the list goes on of those who have believed and trusted in me and supported me in this. So again, all to my NCA&T family that's out there, yes, can we get an Aggie pride? Thank you so much. And I say in closing that they say that if you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I found it. Cooperative Extension has been that for me, as present by the years of service that I have and still on the journey. So with that, to young people, I say, find something that you truly believe and you love, work every day at it, and know that the world can be your oyster. So with that, I thank the committee again. I thank all of you for your presence here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, for our next inductee, Dr. Jenny L. Stevens. Now, when I first came to Tuskegee 40 years ago, one of the things I was studying was heirs property. And we've been doing these workshops recently, and I tell the folks I've been studying heirs property before there was any heirs property. No one had died yet. I told Adam he better get his house in order, and it just didn't work out that way. But more recently, we have picked up, even through the Farm Bill, working with heirs property. And one of the champions of this work is the work by Jenny Stevens and her Center for Heirs Property in Charleston, South Carolina, which has now expanded. Amazing. So when her name came up to be considered for this award, I thought, wow, yeah, this is almost like a no-brainer. Not that it wasn't a hard decision, but truly deserved. Plus, she's been on the PhD committee of one of my PhD students, and I was really happy for that. So, whereas Dr. Jenny L. Stevens is truly a community member, leader, and activist, and has served as Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Heirs Property, commonly known as CHIP, for 20 years, and brings more than 30 years of combined professional and volunteer experience in nonprofit leadership, community development, and public service. Whereas Dr. Stevens has promoted collaboration with 1890 land-grant universities, and under Dr. Stevens' leadership, CHIP has built lasting partnerships with Tuskegee University, South Carolina State University, Prairie View A&M University, and the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff to strengthen workforce capacity, applied research, and community outreach. Together, these collaborations have supported Ayers property education, sustainable forestry, and landowner engagement through faculty partnerships, student internships, and community field days. Her center has expanded learning opportunities while helping the university extend their outreach to rural and historically underserved communities. And whereas Dr. Stevens has advanced the quality of life of rural people, where for 2 decades she has worked to expand opportunities for rural families by linking legal education and support, financial literacy, and sustainable land management. And under her direction, her center has helped families resolve more than 430 titles, unlocking $3.1 million in land value, and empowered more than 600 landowners access to 40,000 acres in South Carolina and beyond to secure ownership, protect family legacies, and build generational wealth. And whereas building on this foundation, Dr. Stevens successfully raised more than $11 million for organizations in Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, and West Virginia to replicate her center's service delivery model in ways that meet local community needs. The center also serves as the fiscal sponsor for the Ayers Property Practitioners Network, a national community of attorneys supporting Ayers property owners across the country. And whereas Dr. Stevens has led her center's strategic development, including funding, public-private partnerships, and collaborative learning opportunities needed to replicate its proven self-delivery model across the Southern and Appalachian states. These efforts ensure that families can continue to protect what matters most, the roof over their heads and the land under their feet for generations to come. And whereas Dr. Stevens has received numerous recognitions and peer acknowledgments in terms of excellence, innovation, partnerships, and service, including the USDA Forest Service Chiefs Award for Partnerships, the American Forest Foundation Leadership Award, South Carolina's Rural Development Council Award, a TEDx speaker on land legacy and generational wealth, and again, many more pages of recognitions. Despite all these efforts, Dr. Stevens has published in professional journals as well as book chapters and has sat in, as I mentioned, on PhD committees, including one in our program. Therefore, be it resolved that individually and collectively, the participants at the annual Professional Agricultural Workers Conference congratulate and present to Dr. Jenny Stevens the 2025 George Washington Carver Public Service Hall of Fame Award for her work in significant partnership with the 1890 land-grant institutions, and do thereby induct her into the Hall of Fame, given this 18th day of October, 2025.
So if you know me, you know I would much rather be sitting where you are rather than up here. I'll say good evening to everyone. It is truly a pleasure to be here, and I'm deeply honored to receive this recognition from Tuskegee University. It's an institution that has shaped so much of our nation's thinking about service, innovation, and justice. To stand here in the name of George Washington Carver is very humbling. His work wasn't only about science, it was about people. He used knowledge to expand what was possible for rural communities who were too often overlooked and that spirit continues to guide my work. I want to begin by thanking the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for this remarkable honor. Your recognition means a great deal, and I am grateful for the care and intention behind this award. I also accept this award on behalf of the families I serve through the Center for Heirs Property. These communities, rural, Black, Brown, Indigenous, Appalachian, and beyond, are the backbone of America. They are landowners, growers, stewards, and dreamers, and so many of them are still fighting to hold on to the very thing that Carver believed was the foundation of dignity and economic independence: land. At CHIP, our mission is to help families protect what matters most: the roof over their heads and the land beneath their feet, and to strengthen the economic and generational future that land makes possible. We resolve tangled titles, we restore long-lost opportunities, and we bring clarity where confusion has blocked families for decades. And we do it because every landowner deserves fairness, dignity, and a path forward. This work reminds me that progress doesn't happen in one big leap. It happens in steady steps, one family, one parcel, one breakthrough at a time. And it often happens in communities that have never been given the attention or the investment they deserve. Carver understood that. He spent his life taking knowledge, compassion, and possibility into places that had not been written off. That same spirit drives the work we do today. Tonight, I want to thank the countless families who have trusted us with their stories and their hopes, and their courage fuels this mission. And as I accept this award, well, let me back up because I forgot to thank my family. Don't tell them they're not here. And I want to thank my very own family for supporting me through the long days, the long miles, and the moments when the weight of this work felt extremely heavy. As I accept this award, I keep returning to one of Carver's most powerful teachings. Start where you are, with what you have, make something of it, and never be satisfied. That line speaks volumes to me. I am often not satisfied with the systems as they are, with the barriers families still face, and the opportunities so many of them still don't have. But that dissatisfaction is what keeps me searching. It pushes me to keep improving and to keep fighting for the families we serve, even when I don't feel like it. It makes me come forward with the confidence that I need. So thank you again to the selection committee, to Tuskegee University, and to everyone who continues to carry forward the legacy of the service that Carver embodied so powerfully. Let's keep it going. The work is not finished yet.
Okay, one more thing. Got all these papers here. All right, I mentioned before that selecting the honorees or the inductees is a monumental task. I do want to recognize the selection committee. They're on the back of your program. Clyde Wilson, Chair, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Savvy Horn, Executive Director of the Land Loss Prevention Project. Dennis Ebodagi, USDA National NIFA retired. Sandra Jones, Rural Community Development Consultant. And Mort Neufville, Carver awardee, as well as Savvy Horn, 1890 Universities Foundation retired. Let's give them a round. Now, they have a hard time getting the selection. Sometimes we have a hard time getting the selectees to accept, amazingly. And this happened in 2017. In 2017, the choice for Carver 1 was Walter Hill. And Walter said, no, 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 I don't want that, I don't deserve that award. And I said, you gotta be kidding me, right? I mean, I think the whole audience would have just. So we finally got him with some help, I think, from Jill, to say yes, he would accept it. The Carver II awardee was Dennis Ebodagi. And he said, Robert, I can't accept this award. And I said, why? He said, I think it will be a conflict of interest because I work for NIFA and NIFA gives out monies to the 1890s as well as other universities too. I said, it hasn't seemed to be much of an issue with other USDA folks, but Dennis was firm and he said that he could not accept it. And so we acknowledged that and we left it blank because it was so unanimous that he receive it. Well, as I think we all know, in this last January, Dennis retired. So I'm going to read part of his qualifications, and let's see by the consent of you all that we award him the Carver Award now. So, again, folks at USDA, they like to write. But I'm just going to do 2 paragraphs and then cut to the chase. As National Program Leader for Small Farms, Dennis Ebodagi has promoted and facilitated small farm research, extension, and outreach throughout the land-grant colleges and universities and at community-based organizations to enhance farm income of small and limited resource farmers and beginning farmers and ranchers. And whereas he provides leadership for small farm activities at land-grant colleges and universities to ensure that the needs of small farmers and ranchers, as well as beginning farmers and ranchers in their communities are met, and that he ensures that state small farm program coordinators work with small farmers and beginning farmers through project endeavors to improve the quality of life of small farmers and ranchers and beginning farmers within their local communities. He is also known because he coordinated the first 7 national small farm conferences. Everyone remember those? The first one in Asheville, right? He has also had numerous pages of recognitions, including certificates of recognition from 4 secretaries of agriculture, and of course, many, many universities. And he is unique among Carver inductees in that he was inducted into the T.M. Campbell Extension Hall of Fame in the year 2000 at the 108th Annual Farmers Conference at Tuskegee University. And I just want to mention 2 grant programs that he has been the champion of for many years: the AFRI Small Farm Program and the Beginning Farmer and Rancher Program. How many have received monies from either of those 2? Right? Dennis said, he'd give me a call. He said, Robert, we need more 1890s to apply for this money. We need more 1890s to apply for this money. And I think that every time an 1890 applied for that money, they got it. And not just 1 time, but 2 times and 3 times and 4 times. So, I'd like to say, therefore, be it resolved that individually and collectively, the participants of the 83rd Professional Agricultural Workers Conference congratulate and present to Dr. Dennis Ebodagi the 2017 George Washington Carver Public Service Hall of Fame Award for his work and significant partnership with the 1890 land-grant institutions, and do hereby induct him into the Hall of Fame, given this 18th day of October, 2025. How do we, yes? And I know the dean's saying, be quiet, but I'm on sabbatical, so I can say whatever I want. You'll notice that in the program, it says the memorial honor is from Central State University. And I've been working with the Provost Ulysses Toledo to get their nominee or their inductee. They're a fairly recent member of the 1890 family. And he asked me, he sent me a question. He says, Robert, do they have to be deceased? And I said, it's a memorial recognition. And it says, well, I said, is anyone feeling ill? Well, I don't know, But, so they're working, they're working on it. But what we'll be doing is putting it into, we'll be sending out a notice and appreciation when they have time to do that. So without further ado.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zabawa. I'm always thinking, be brief, brother, be brief. All right. So no, I'd like to thank you all for coming out. Just again, I will end this program and this conference the way I began, by really showing my appreciation and awe for the 1890 system. Again, we are celebrating 135 years of the 1890 system. And while we have this event here at Tuskegee University, we know that it is not about Tuskegee University. It is about the 1890 system, which we all come together and prove again and again. And while the 1890 system is strong, it is without our partners and our collaborators. And that's why tonight is so special, because it not only recognizes one of our own, it also recognizes individuals that we work closely with that make sure that we remain 19 strong. And so I would like to thank you all for joining us. I hope you have enjoyed yourself. We look forward to our 2026 event. We have already selected the dates, which you should have received in your registration bag, so you can plan accordingly. But I would be remiss if I did not take one moment to again congratulate our awardees. You never know where the connections will be made for your tomorrows. I remember being a graduate student at the Manners Conference, and Ray McKinney was a gentleman out there grading posters and oral research presentations. And apparently from time to time, I would say something that tickled him. But he really kept up with I have no idea what it could have been. But he really kept up with me in my career and really has been a sounding board and a mentor, whether he knows it or not, as I have been in the 1890 system. And I have known him for about as long as Ms. Jenny has been working with Heirs Property with Tuskegee University. And so it just warms my heart to know how these connections can be made. And as I look out and see our young people, know that the connections that you make today as a student will be connections that will endure for years and years to come as you go out into this world and do this work. Apply what you have learned and work closely with individuals who will be your mentors, but always also will be your colleagues. And so we end tonight with the note of 19 strong, 135 years. Thank you all so much for joining us. And before I close, I would like to thank our planning committee, Tasha Hargrove. She pretends she's a co-chair, but she chairs this whole situation. And so we would like to thank Tasha, as always, for a beautiful job. She never disappoints. She always comes with something fascinating like our 1890 centerpieces, and all of those who whisper things in her ear throughout the year to make sure that we continue to be phenomenal. We thank you all. Have a good night, and we'll see you next year. Woo.